Good evening and welcome to the Night Sweats podcast. I'm your host, Hayden. Here we are again, folks, sitting around this campfire sharing stories. I have some housekeeping to do here in a minute, but I wanted to just give you a heads up on the voicemail. So the voicemail, it's 860-GO-GHOST. That's 860-464-4678. If you are going to call and send me a voice message, you have to keep it under 3 minutes. There are a couple ways you can do this. You can quickly record your name and location, go into your story, time yourself, and be prepared for the 3 minute mark because it will hang up. The other thing you could do is call in, tell your story, know where you're at the 3 minute mark, call back, start at the beginning. Well, not at the beginning, start at where you left off and go for another 3 minutes. It's simple. I will get those voice messages. I will put them together. I can slide them into the show. I know I have a lot of people that have mentioned that they were going to send me messages. Earlier in the week, I had some people send me messages, but the 3 minute mark it came too soon. But we'll get it all figured out. We'll get it taken care of. I wanted to say thank you to everybody for your support. The Facebook group, the Night Sweats Podcast, is taking off. The YouTube channel is absolutely taking off, and the podcast itself has increased numbers, unbelievably, rather, I guess, if I'm going to be grammatically correct. I did some things while I was away, up to and including the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. But when I'm out in the world, if I'm doing things in places where I think people might be interested in the show, I will slide one of my business cards. And my business card has the QR code for the website, all the platforms, the YouTube, the Facebook, all that stuff. I will slide that in somebody's car window. I will. I was at Walmart last week. No, the week before last, and all the little pumpkin pails put business cards in there. Buy a pumpkin pail for your kid and listen to the show. Is that dishonest? Is it a good way to get listeners? I don't know. Nobody's come on, nobody's contacted me and said, "Hey, I found this card in this pumpkin pail." But you do what you can. It's free advertising, and the employees at Walmart, they don't care, do they? I don't know. Anyway, before I get into the show, which is amazing, let's do a little housekeeping. That does not necessarily mean taking a shower because I smell god awful. Kidding. Maybe I do. I don't know. I think I'm all right. So still listeners in 16 countries on 5 continents, although a lot of people are tuning in those countries. Do me a favor, check us out over on the Facebook group. If you are a listener and haven't been there yet, come on over. If you listen to the show and haven't seen our YouTube channel, it's easy. The Night Sweats Podcast. Go on there. You can watch videos. You can watch me right now. I just sniffed my armpit. Cool. It's fine, by the way. Just thought I'd let you know. Take the show. Take whatever platform you're listening on. Share it on social media. Because if you enjoy it, chances are somebody that you're friends with on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or I don't know how many social media platforms there are now. I'm only on a couple, but share the show. Maybe they'll like it. It helps me out because it helps me get this show out there. And this show, and you'll hear me say it several times during the interviews with my guests. I do this as therapy, not just for me, but for other people that have stories that they can't find a way to share with somebody, or for people that want to get their stories out there. to know that they're not the only ones that had this experience, because chances are if you've had it or if they've had it, somebody else has too. So on the show today, I've got an amazing group of guests. I have got a psychic, also a paranormal investigator. Tom Springer will be on the show. A psychic medium who does work with the Find Me group, which helps find missing and deceased people, based out of Phoenix. She's from Australia. Her name is Carissa Pinoli. I struggled with that. I had to ask her how to pronounce her name. Very sweet, great show there, great interview. And then also we have Cain Stevens, who is a paranormal investigator with Debunked Paranormal out of Lincoln, Nebraska, also host of the podcast, the Cain Stevens Super Show. And he super showed up on my podcast, so that's very cool. We'll get into more stuff after these interviews I'm going to put on here. Also, I did have last show. I promised I would have a head of a paranormal investigator group in Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, they were unable to make it. Hopefully, we can reschedule and take care of that in the future. This evening, I have another interview with the owners of a place that's near and dear to my heart. I have not visited. I have wanted to several times. For whatever reason, I have not yet. I'm hoping to very soon, if I get more vacation time. Anyway, that's yet to be revealed, but it'll be fun. For those of you that want to send me voice messages, please do. You can do it from the platform. You can use the voicemail, again, 860-GO-GHOST, 860-464-4678. You can send me an email directly at thenightsweatspodcast@gmail.com. Send me your stories, and I will share them. I will share mine. I will share yours. We will all share. It'll be a big sharing situation. It'll be good. But share the podcast. Share the podcast with your friends, your family, your enemies, your frenemies, guy in front of you, guy behind you, whoever. Share the show. Helps me out. Okay. That being said, I'm going to cut off here for now, and then I will do some editing, get everything taken care of. I will close the show with one of my stories. All right? Hey, everybody. I have got a guest on this show, an amazing guy. His name is Tom Springer. Tom is a combination of indigenous and Nordic descent, making his background vast in legend and lore. He first learned about his paranormal abilities at the age of 49. He is 51 now. He was on his first investigation where he saw an apparition of a lady who spoke with him. He has several abilities. He's branched out into many different areas, including psychic and mediumship abilities, talking with elementals, speaking with individuals from different dimensions, and healing others through energy, as well as many others. He is the host of a live stream called Stuff I Never Learned from a School Book. It was originally conceived as a place for individuals who believe they have paranormal gifts to come to, so they can learn more and meet others who are also just starting out. He is also the Midwest director for the Paranormal Existence Research Society, or PERS for short, which is headquartered in Florida, and the director is Bill Slevin. He was originally part of another investigation team where he learned how to tap into his abilities, but he is now the founder and owner of Sixth Sense Investigations, and he and his team do local investigations of known and not too famous places. Tom, after all this that we just tried to do with video, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Hayden. How you doing, brother?
Oh, you know what? I am getting through it. So for those of you that are listening, Tom and I just had basically a half-hour ordeal where we were trying to
where we were trying to get both video and audio so we could do this the right way. But my computer is one of the original Macintosh computers from. So Tom, what would you like to talk about first? Do you want to talk about your experience with you learning about your gifts?
Sure, we can start there.
Okay,
First off, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you reaching out to me.
that's my pleasure.
Yeah. So as Hayden said, my name's Tom Springer, and I am a newly awakened individual. Literally pretty new to everything. And I went on an investigation with my first team, and I wasn't even part of the team yet. We just went to go with friends to see what they do. And our first night there, I see this apparition walk in front of me, and she just looks at me and starts talking to me, and I start talking back to her. And we actually had a couple of other mediums that were on the team, and they were like, "Who are you talking to?" And I'm like, "I'm talking to the lady right there." And they're like, "Well, we can see her, but why can you see her?" I'm like, "I don't know." And they're like, "How long have you known you've been able to do this?" And I go, "About 30 seconds." So it was very immediate and um, very interesting to say the least, because it kind of continued on for the rest of the investigation to where I was finding out I had other abilities all tied into it as well. So that's kind of how I came into it. Um, After that, everything was kind of, I tell people it was like drinking from a fire hose. All my abilities hit me at once, and I had to figure out what to do with them and how they worked and what they were actually. And I had a couple of friends of mine who are also mediums kind of help get me on the right path to start figuring them out. But they were both under the impression that I picked up my abilities so fast because I've been doing them for many lifetimes. So it's just second nature for me to have all these abilities, and I should know how to use them now. I don't, but we're figuring it out.
Gotcha. So, and with this recording also, it seems like there's kind of an echo on my end from me talking, so I'm going to apologize for that as well.
I don't hear the echo on my side.
Oh, well, hey, there's a silver lining, I guess. So, tell me about your show. Tell me about stuff I never learned from a school book.
Stuff I never learned from a school book came about simply because I really didn't have too much guidance on what was going on. Like I said, a couple friends tried to help here and there, but I still wasn't understanding a lot of things that was going on. And I had an online company.
Are you there? Oh, did I lose you?
I'm still hearing you.
Oh my God! Wow. Okay. Well, I was. Yeah, I wasn't hearing you.
Okay.
Man, the universe is trying to tell us something.
So I will tell you that this may not be your fault. That is one of my uncanny abilities, is I am known for breaking the internet when I'm on it.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
it may not just be you, it's just my energy that comes through. It does that on its own, and it really does it bad when I'm with another person, or when I'm with other people that kind of have the same abilities. We seem to break electronics.
Oh, I guess
So that could be my bad. Uh,
that's.
but but I'm back now, right? We're still
Yeah, you're
going.
back. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, anyways, like I said, it was kind of some stuff where I just wanted to know more, and I figured there were other people out there like me as well. So I agreed to come onto this site, and I created stuff I never learned from a school book, and I started bringing on people who already were aware of their abilities and have been using them for a while, basically veterans who could talk to others and kind of help guide us through what a lot of us newbies were feeling or going through, or just trying to figure out in general, and ask questions. But it also gave them a community to where they knew they weren't alone, and they were comfortable enough that they would come on and listen and talk and ask questions, which I was hoping they would do. So a lot of people started listening to my show. But from there, it just grew. It went from only being paranormal and people trying to figure out their abilities to investigators. I've had on people who've been abducted by aliens. I've had on cryptid hunters. It kind of spreads to everything. I have on holistic healers. I have on anything that normal people would call odd and weird, even though I think we're the normal ones. But yeah, so pretty much I invite anybody on now to talk about their experiences, and it's always a learning session for everybody that's involved. Whether you're been doing this for years, you always seem to pick up something, or whether you're a newbie, my guests come on and bring all their knowledge with them.
So it's, you kind of run like a real life school for like Dr. Xavier kind of thing. You've got some X-Men out there.
Yeah. I do run it. It is only a one night show. Well, it started off as a one night show, but if people can't come on Monday nights, then I will flex and have them other nights as well. And initially the show was going to be a half an hour, but now I just let people talk. I mean, really, I tell the guests when they come on, it's their show. I'm just there to introduce them and to say goodnight, and I just let them talk. And a lot of times,
Oh. Tom, it happened again. Are you there? Oh, we may have lost him. Tom, can you hear me?
hello.
Oh, there you. Hey, there, man, you and your energy. I'll tell you.
So what's funny, I'm trying to figure out. I keep saying hi, because I can hear you still the whole time.
Oh, that's crazy.
So the funny part is, I'm wondering if your audience, when they listen to this back, if they're going to hear me saying hello a billion times, or if they're going to hear you saying, "I think we lost them."
Yeah, that's. I've been thinking about that too. So let's.
It'll be interesting who they're losing, me or you.
Yeah. Oh boy. So
well, if nothing else for them, it'll be entertaining.
Oh sure.
So we have.
I talk about a lot of crazy, spooky things, but it's good to have a lighthearted episode once in a while too. So.
Right. Well, this is going to be that episode.
Yes, so, I feel it.
So I don't know the last thing you heard. What was the last thing you heard?
You were talking about you let your guests just kind of talk, and you're there to introduce and say goodnight.
Yep. And we have tons of squirrel moments. There's lots and lots of squirrel moments that happen on the show. We get sidetracked on so many stupid, useless pieces of information, but it all makes for a great show, because it literally is just me and my guest talking like you and I are. But the audience is live, so they can type in questions and comments and everything else. So we get to answer all of them live as it goes on as well.
Nice. Okay. So how did you get involved with PERS?
I was introduced to a gentleman by the name of Bill Slevin. He's been in the paranormal industry for about 35 years. He's actually one of the speakers on the show Devil's Academy that happened out in Florida. And he's very well known in the paranormal universe. But when I was part of the other site, he was actually a guest speaker on there on another show, and I started talking to him and asked him, "Hey, would you come on my show?" And he said yes. So he went ahead and came on my show, and we started talking. And he was like, "Wow, you have a lot of gifts." He goes, "I would like you to step in, if you wouldn't mind, and start running the Paranormal Existence Research Society Midwest chapter as the director." And that's how I kind of fell into meeting up with Bill, even though he's out of Florida. I would tell you that 80 to 90% of the group is actually out of Florida, but there's Southern Florida, Western Florida. There's a group out of Georgia, and then there's me out of the Midwest. So 17 of us total in the group.
Oh. And so let's also talk about, that's amazing, by the way. I actually just got back from Florida, but like yesterday. So Let's talk about Sixth Sense.
Okay.
So,
So
oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
I
Go
was going to
ahead.
say you do local investigations, and you've got some upcoming stuff. Tell me about what you guys do at Sixth Sense, and some of your highlights.
Okay. Well, my wife and I actually are the two people that run Sixth Sense Investigations. We actually used to be part of another team, and we branched off from that team, and we created Sixth Sense Investigation, and we're just investigating locations around our area here in Omaha, Nebraska. So we'll go out to one of the places we're going to go investigate here shortly. Is there's a location right across the border in Iowa, and it is marked where a Native American chief passed away, and in the mid 1800s and in the late 1800s, a Christian church was built on the property, and there's activity that happens there because of the two mixes of the Indian tribes as well as the Christian church being built on there. And we've done a local cemetery here that's pretty much by us, and so we just basically look for places that aren't well known, that we get by word of mouth, and we'll go investigate those places, and we'll go look at those places. But we also get information about places that some people know if they're in the local area, like the Seven Sisters Road, where a family lived. There was a father, a son, and seven sisters, surprising for the name. And the lore is either the dad or the son lured out each one of the daughters or sisters, whichever one did it, and actually hanged them from 7 different trees on 7 different hillsides. And that's just south of us in southern Nebraska. And the everything that's happened since then is, if you drive down there at night, you can see eyeballs, you can see flashes. But the biggest thing is your electronics on your cars gets messed with. Your car will break down. It will drain your battery. It will affect your phone. It basically affects anything. And then if you get out and listen, then you can hear the girls crying from where they were hanged at. So there's a couple different places around here that a lot of people don't know about, but they have a background.
Sure. Yeah, I've investigated the Arrow in Broken Bow. I have investigated the Argo in Crofton. We've done the Elms in Excelsior Springs, Missouri, several times. I love to go do this stuff. It's just, I work at my job 60 hours a week, and I don't usually have a lot of time.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we're kind of the same way. But have you gone over and done Malvern Manor?
I've been invited a couple times. Another one of my buddies is an investigator that rubs elbows with Brandy Green a lot, and from Ghost Hunters International and Dustin Perry, and I just I don't know what. And also I'm going to interview the new owners of Mason House Inn tomorrow, and it's like Malvern Manor and Mason House are 2 places that I always talk about investigating. Excuse me. I always talk about investigating, but I have not made it there yet.
I will tell you that that was actually kind of like the first places we started going to because it's so close to us. And Malvern Manor, depending on if you go during the day or during the night, it has a totally different energy. It really does have that flip the switch at night to where you go from, oh, it's a nice place to investigate, to now I understand how come there's blood on the walls,
Okay.
type of place. So, yeah. They do have a place called the Blood Hallway, and it's because it looks like blood on the walls where like fingers are drugged on the wall where there's still blood marks and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's definitely a different place to go if you get the chance. It's not far from us, but
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely worth the trip out there. Josh Hurd is one of the owners out there. Great guy. We got introduced to him, and he always invites us back whenever we want to come in. He does tours out there for groups and everything else if they want to go out there as well.
Nice. Okay. Well, I'll keep that in mind. Blood Hallway sounds great. I'll bring the whole family. Um, well, Tom, before we close up here, hey, uh, let everybody know how to watch your show, how to contact you, all that stuff.
Sure. So my show is called Stuff I Never Learned from the School Book. It's on Facebook, so you can get it at facebook.com/Stuff I Never Learned. I'm also on Twitch at twitch.tv/Stuff I Never Learned. I am at YouTube at youtube.com @Stuff I Never Learned. And then you can also reach me by email at stuffineverlearned@gmail.com.
Perfect. Well, hey man, again, I gotta apologize for the audio and video thing, but I really appreciate you coming on. This is, short notice. Thanks for being on the show, man, and I hope to keep in contact. Um, any updates, stuff like that, I'd like to have you back on the show.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it. In fact, our next upcoming event is actually going to be out in Washington, Iowa, where we're working with the Riverside, Iowa Paranormal Team, doing a 3-location investigation on October 28th and 29th. So I'll let you know if we pick up anything from there, and I'll shoot it your way.
That would be great, man. Thank you so much, Tom. I appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Hayden.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Folks, I have a very special guest coming onto the show right now. You can see her in the left side of the screen. Carissa Pinoli hails from Western Australia, where she is a third-generation psychic medium. She does work with the Find Me group based out of Phoenix, Arizona. She's also an artist, has been running her own art shop for 7 years. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, perfect. She's here to talk about being a psychic medium and some of her experiences. And I'm very, very, very excited. Carissa, welcome to the show.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Hayden. It's wonderful to be here.
Well, I'm glad we finally kind of worked things out. We've been having nothing but audio and visual difficulties for the last period of time, but that's kind of the theme for today. So
yes, we got there in the end.
Yes. So tell me about tell me about your background and your experience.
Both my parents are intuitives, and from what I've been told, my maternal grandfather practiced the occult. So it's come down through the lines. It's hereditary, obviously, and both my children are intuitives as well. And I think over the years, it's just been spiritual work has just been a way of life for me. Like, a lot of people do freak out when they experience the paranormal, but for me, it's the norm. It's the everyday thing. So nothing really freaks me out. I mean, I've been attacked by spirits. I've had nearly every experience under the sun. But as I've been, practicing more and getting older, I've learned to protect myself, because everyone has to remember that spirits can actually kill you. So you've got to be very, very careful what you do. But my mainstream practice now is finding missing, murdered people. And also I seem to be very good at finding gold as well. So that's my mainstream practice now. I do still provide psychic medium readings and spiritual healings, but I do enjoy my my more sort of finding and seeking work.
Gotcha. Well, and so the Find Me group has some very rigorous screening processes that you sailed through. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, Yeah, sure. Well, when I first applied, I had to do an initial interview with Kelly Snyder. I think he was in the police force as a detective for 30 odd years. He's now retired, and he's actually the founder and CEO of Find Me Group, which is based in Phoenix, Arizona. And he actually has a psychic on board who sent me out an email with just photos of individuals and their first names. And I was asked to look at these photos and determine whether the person was alive or deceased. And then I had to progress to determining whether, if they were deceased, how that actually happened, whether it was accidental or foul play. And then also I had to determine who did it, where it happened, where the body was found, because these are all solved cases that they had sent me. And I found it a bit difficult because I'm in Australia and all of these cases were based in America. So I had to explain to Kelly that I usually work on landmarks because names of places and colours seems to be my sort of, not my strength. But I did manage to determine 4 solved cases, and I passed the screening process.
Fantastic. Yeah, and we talked a little bit before the show. We talked about something that I've talked about previously. My uncle, who was in the Air Force, married a woman from Thailand, and she went missing. And so, and you know, if anybody out there listening to this has heard that, awesome. If not, go back and listen to my previous episodes. But the work that you do is very admirable, and I know that you know, the work that you do often goes unappreciated by the, we'll call it the mainstream world, because I mean it's, I hate to even call it that, because you know, there, like I mentioned in our previous conversation, what you do is not easy, and you explain that some more, and I'll probably have you explain again, but there are people out there that don't take what you do seriously, and that hurts me a lot, because I know that what you do is amazing, and it's a big sacrifice for you.
Yeah, like I said to you before, Hayden, it is hard. It is really, really hard. We, you know, in my experience, it's not a case of just sitting there and reeling off information. I do sometimes actually experience physically and mentally what these victims went through in their last moments. And I've also had vision of decomposing bodies as well. So it is very, very confrontational. And like we were talking about before, there's no sort of counselling service really for us psychic mediums, especially in my line of work. So it is very, very hard. It is very difficult. But, you know, as a mum and as, you know, a family person, I can just imagine what other people are going through when they've had a loved one that's missing or has met their demise in a very not so very good way, and they want answers. So to me, that's what drives me to do it. And my advice to anyone out there that actually wants to pursue this kind of line of work is make sure you are physically and mentally fit, and you do have a very good support system around you, because you are going to need it, because it's not child's play.
Yeah, it's again, what you do is an amazing thing, and I just can't imagine the toll that it takes on you, the things that you've had to see and feel. My heart goes out to you.
You know, I usually go off and have a bit of a cry in private. I have done that on many occasions, and it is tough, and it's just something that I really don't like to talk about with people, because it's something that I like to process for myself, because I seem to go through like a grieving process almost.
Sure. For
myself, you know, watching what happened to these victims and feeling the pain and the trauma that they went through. And like I said, it's not child's play. We don't just sit there and ramble off information. We actually feel it and we see it. It's tough.
I can't imagine. Real quick, just for the viewers and the listeners right now, just so you know what's going on here, because normally 9 times out of 10 I would be playing with my beard, but I'm actually holding my camera on my phone to record this, because this is about the only way we could make this happen, and I needed to make this happen.
Yeah, we've had some technical issues.
Yeah,
this morning we got there in the end. Where there's a will, there's a way. And
I'll tell you what, there is definitely a will, and we found a way. So here we are.
We did. And I really appreciate you having me on the show, Hayden. I really do appreciate it very much. Well, I'm honored.
I'm honored to have you, and I, you know, like we talked about, and you mentioned again, there's really no type of therapy or counselor for what type of stuff you do. And I, like I said before, and I said it on the show, that's kind of how this podcast started, because I've had experiences that I, you know, couldn't really talk about for a long, long time. And now I kind of share them with the world. And, even more so now that we're doing videos, but I wanted to create a platform for people who have had crazy things happen or do crazy you know, and just, there are things you can't tell your friends or your family sometimes, because there's a stigma about what, you know, what kinds of things that so I started this as a therapy for me and a therapy for other people, and so far, you know, things are going well, and hopefully this won't be your last appearance on the show. I want you to come back, and we'll figure out audio and video better.
Yeah, hopefully we can iron out the issues. If I was more tech savvy, I think we would have had more success this morning.
No, you're fine. It's we'll just chalk it up to the universe making things difficult, and anything awesome has to have some difficulty to it.
Very, very true.
Yeah.
Very true. I agree with that 100%.
Perfect. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add, like contact for your art studio or anything like that? I want people to reach out and get some cool gargoyles.
Oh, yes. My art page is Nero Pantera Studios on Facebook. And my psychic page is Chrissy, which is CRISSY, Psychic Medium on Facebook. So, yeah, reach out, come and have a chat with me, and, yeah, have fun.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Carissa, for being on the show. I really appreciate it. And again, I hope we can do this another time soon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Hayden. Thank you so much for your time and your patience as well this morning.
It's my pleasure.
I really appreciate it.
It's...
And I will definitely come back on. I will definitely be back on.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
As a recording artist and a musician of 20 years, Cain Stevens has done it all. He does paranormal investigation with a group called Debunked Paranormal in Lincoln, Nebraska. He's had some experiences, and most of all, he is the host of the Cain Stevens Super Show, which is an amazing show. You should all check it out. We'll talk more about that. Cain, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me, man. I'm pumped to be here.
I'm super excited about this. You and I share some interesting parallels, so I'm excited to interview you poorly and get your critique later. So.
I don't believe that at all. I think that it's going to be good, man. And I don't believe in any such thing as coincidences, and so these parallels are all for a reason.
Yeah, I talk a lot about synchronicity on my show. I don't believe in coincidence. I think everything happens for a reason, if and when it's supposed to happen. So
I completely agree with you. We also share that thought as well.
awesome. So tell me about. We'll start with the paranormal stuff. Tell me about Debunked Paranormal and your techniques, how you guys operate. I'd like to know more.
Okay. Well, with Debunked, don't let the name fool you. By Debunked, we're not a debunking per se organization. We're just kind of debunked people in general. We're all kind of very into the paranormal. Had many experiences in our lives, but we're all very analytical, very thoughtful, and we just want to find the best evidence like everybody else does, and we just kind of strive to use all of the scientific equipment that we can get a hold of, and just try to respect the locations, and really just investigate and find something like it. We just want to find purpose like everyone else does.
Sure. Yeah, I've been investigating for the majority of my adult life, and I love the name Debunked, even though I mean you described it a little bit better. I like the fact that you use scientific methods. I have been with a couple of groups in the past that didn't like science so much, and if I can't recreate something, if I can't debunk it, then maybe there's something there. So
Absolutely. And why would you not want to use science is what I always ask people, is why wouldn't you want to use equipment, even if it's unorthodox equipment? Why wouldn't you want to give a ghost, if a ghost does in fact exist, the most opportunities to communicate or reveal themselves to you? And so that's kind of how we go about it. So I think that the science should be accredited. I think that there's been enough ghost stories and enough things going on throughout history where I think that we can't necessarily say for sure that, for the skeptic out there, we just have to do better to provide them with the best proof possible.
I could not agree more. So let's talk about some of your experiences. I know that most people that get involved with paranormal investigations or the supernatural have personal experiences, and I do believe that that you fall into that category as well.
Yes, of course. Hauntings have been kind of like my family has told ghost stories for years. But me being the analytical thinker that I am, even young, I kind of just chalked it up as just that, ghost stories. But then, it was probably around, oh man, it probably had to be, it was quite a few years ago. I would say, well, my kids are however old now, 13. It's probably about 12 years ago or so. We lived in duplex housing in Lincoln, Nebraska. And if you're not familiar with Lincoln, Nebraska, um, there's a northwest neighborhood called Air Park or Arnold Heights. And in Arnold
Mhm.
Heights, it was a former Air Force base, Lincoln Air Force Base. It was also 9 Mile Prairies over there. So I mean, it was Indian land many years ago, and you can just imagine, there's just so much history and so many people in and out of this place. Well, this place has been home also to many ghost stories and many hauntings over the years, but I never kind of really took credence into all of it until it happened to me in our home, with my kids, with my wife. Everybody was picking up on it, and that's when I kind of, it was in this house that I was, it's really where it lit off my I want to investigate now, type of thing that happened to me. So, I mean, if you don't mind, I'll just I'll tell you the story of what really lit it off for me. So my girls were very young. We had small beds, like on each side of the room. It was a small enough room where you could sit in between them and you could pat them on the back. Well, my girls wouldn't go to sleep unless I was in the room, unless I was, patting them on the back, reassuring them everything's good. And they would go to sleep, just doing the dad thing. And so every night I'd go in there and I would either sit in the middle of them or I would kind of lay and just kind of like, you know, just pat them to sleep and tell them I love them and maybe tell them a story or something. They'd go to sleep. Well, there was one night I was doing the same. I was laying on my stomach and kind of like, there were really low beds, so it's not like I had a major reach or anything. But I'm patting him on the back and I feel a hand on my ankle and I feel it pull me backwards a little bit. And I'm a pretty big guy, so it was shocking to say the least. But my first instinct was, well, ridiculously, is one of my girls had gotten up. Somebody's playing a joke on me, or somebody's behind me. And so I crank around and I look, and the door's closed. There's nobody there. There's my girls. I look at them, and they're both sleeping. They haven't moved, and it just, I mean, to me it was like, what on earth is going on here? Like, how is that even possible? I mean, I've been to haunted locations when I was younger, supposedly, supposed. Me and my friends, we'd walk around, we'd do things, we'd go to these locations. We never really had anything happen. Maybe you'd see a shadow or something, and we'd all giggle and run away.
Sure.
But this was like real life stuff. This is something terrifying, that happened to me personally, in my kid's room, and that kind of lit it all off for me. There were many other things that happened in that same room. One time we were at dinner and we heard a bunch of like their toys going off in their room, and we're all sitting in the dining area, and we go back there and multiple toys are going off at once. It was like a scene from Poltergeist. There was like one of these, like the bat caves, like what are they, Imagine X or whatever. There's a certain one where it has this weighted deal to it. So it's weighted on one side, you put Batman on the other side, and you can like push it and it'll, like, Batman will be floating around this cave, right? Well, we go in
Yeah.
there, and as this stuff's going off, Batman is going in a circle by himself. Nobody had been in the room. We are all accounted for. Everyone was there. It's stuff like that. It's shadows. It's rooms filling up darker than the darkest part of the house. My kids were very young, and they still describe to this day, seeing a tall man, seeing a female, feeling comforted by the female, scared of the tall man, and it's very interesting to me. And I never know if it's their imaginations just were running wild, or what it was. But I mean, there's so much going on there that eventually I got scared. I called the Catholic Church. They were apprehensive about. I didn't know who else to run to.
Yeah.
And I asked them, begged them to come out. Eventually, they did send a priest to bless the home, and it was a really scary time for myself and my family. And it was just living through a true haunt. And
Yeah.
so, that's kind of why I do it now. That's why I investigate. That's why I'm so open about talking about it on my show, is because I think that it's important that we talk about this stuff and stop making people feel like they're crazy, and start making people feel like, maybe there's something to that. Maybe we should look into it. And so, I want to thank you personally for doing a show like you have, because you're doing exactly what I want to do, what I want people to do, which is we're talking about the paranormal. It's as if it's a normal thing, because guess what, folks? It is. It's kind of it's kind of been around for a long time. We can't explain it, we can't understand it, but it's there.
Yeah, and thank you for that. That's reinforcement for me because excuse me. I do this show. I mean, I took a long absence from doing the show and had somebody, a fan that was local, thank me for doing the show, and then also like, hey, why the hell are you not doing shows? And so I jumped back in. But yeah, I think that these conversations, need to be had. Um, I used to listen to Coast AM religiously every night when I worked nights,
Absolutely.
and um, it made me sad that there was not something more mainstream during waking hours. And then, of course, Ghost Hunters came out, but I like to talk to people and discuss things that aren't edited for TV.
Right.
One of the things that I've been toying with recently is you go to these places that have multiple entities there. And I would like to try and figure out, someday I might not do it in this lifetime, but when it comes to homes and haunted places that have multiple spirits, you discussed the tall man and the girl. What kind of power hierarchy is there? What kind of power struggle do these spirits have occupying the same space? This type of stuff really fascinates me.
Absolutely. It's completely fascinating. And it's like, speak about like a haunted place. Like, I was just investigating in Malvern, Iowa, at Malvern Manor a couple weeks ago, and they talk about multiple spirits being there. And it's a place like that where you could really put a theory to the test, and you really start to wonder, like, there's all of these spirits that people are reporting and seeing, and they have all these stories. But what is the hierarchy of this realm, and why is it such a why is it so pertinent in some places and not in others? You know what I mean? It doesn't it just doesn't add up at times.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I need to dive further into, and I encourage anybody out there listening that is an investigator, to check into it. Let's see what we can come up with, because this path that we've chosen, gets mocked by regular scientists, but it is a science itself. Um, so, Cain, tell me about the Cain Stevens Super Show.
Absolutely. Thank you for allowing me to do so. The Cain Stevens Super Show was formerly the Cain Stevens Paranormal Super Show, in which case I did, all things paranormal. I talked to people about cryptids, I talked to mediums, I talked to witches, and I too was a huge fan of, and still am, of Coast to Coast. Art Bell really lit it off for me, and then of course George Norrie, and then all of the different hosts that they have, George Knapp, all these people, and so I just felt like I wanted to do the same. So I got into that, and I began doing a series called The Curse of Arnold Heights. And a lot of people, it really struck with them. And Arnold Heights is the air park area that I was referring to earlier, Northwest Lincoln. I think it's one of the most haunted neighborhoods in the country. I truly do. I mean, I grew up out there. I've known it to be. I've known all of it for most of my life, and I just I started getting a flood of all of these um ghost stories, things people were telling me, terrifying stuff. I mean, things that you would think is right out of the Amityville horror movies, like mirrors being blown off, like just blowing off the wall, things being thrown, people being scratched, people being so scared of a place that once they moved and they'd had it with the haunting, that they will never drive up that street again, type stuff. And it was fascinating to me because as I started to pinpoint the whole neighborhood, they would it's all over the neighborhood. It's not just one side. It's not. It's north, south, east, west. It's the entire area. And so I started to dig more. I started to, I was starting to write a book about it, and I just couldn't believe that the paranormal people in this area had not tapped into this. Like I was shocked by it. Like, how could so many people over all these years be telling all these ghost stories of all different ages and walks of life, and nobody has taken them seriously, or what? I don't know. But so I started to take them seriously. So I did the show, began talking to more and more people. Well, I kind of just I morphed it into I took a hiatus after a while. The talking about the paranormal can be very dark. I mean, and you know that, you do it.
Oh yeah.
Investigating, when you start, especially when you're investigating, it's a very dark thing, and you'll be looking at thousands of hours of video and listening to audio, all this stuff. People have no idea unless you do it, just how much work is put into trying to gather evidence. And so, with the show, it was just so dark, everything, and I just felt like I needed kind of a break. So I took a break from podcasting, and when I came back, I just thought, I'm really dialed into people, connected. I'm a musician. I've always been a person that knows a lot of people, but I don't feel like I'm a popular person or anything. I never felt that. I just, for whatever reason, everywhere I go, somebody talks to me. I'm kind of a lightning rod of, the strangest of the strange. And so I just thought I'm going to bring the show back, but this time I'll kind of be like the poor man's Oprah. And there's no gifts, there's no prizes. It's just it's just me talking to all different types of guests of all walks of life. That way I could talk to those musicians and the extremely interesting people out there of all different walks. So I mean, that kind of sums up really the Cain Stevens Super Show. It's really just, it is probably still 80 some percent ghosts and cryptids, goblins, and whatever you want to say. But it's also me talking to everybody else, and then I tend to ask most guests, like, have you had any experiences with ghosts? And would you know it, I would say most of them probably have.
Sure. Yeah, I can definitely relate to being the lightning rod for people that want to talk about stuff. I can't like if I go anywhere for any length of time, let's say I go to Walmart, which I hate, but they seem to have everything I need. When I would go to Walmart with my wife, she would not want to go with me because there would always be one person that would come up and start talking to me randomly about craziness. And I don't know if that's my vibe that I'm giving off, but I'm definitely here to listen, and I encourage everybody, all my listeners, all the people that follow the show, to send me their stories so I can share them, because this is, and I spoke about this yesterday with a person I was interviewing. I started this show because I had experiences. I started the show because I knew that at some point in my life, if I talked to people about those experiences, they would think I was nuts. So this gives me an opportunity to talk about things with everybody, and it also is a platform for people to come in and share something, get something off their chest that they may not be able to tell their friends or family. So um, it's therapy for me, and hopefully it's therapy for other people too. So and I really definitely appreciate the work you're doing with the Cain Stevens Super Show. I mean, not just from a paranormal aspect, but also entertaining, which is what we need in the world right now.
We definitely do. It's a weird time in history right now where a lot of things are kind of popping off and a lot of stuff's happening out there. We definitely need entertainment, but thank you for the praise. I certainly try to entertain people, but I always wonder if really I just annoy them.
Same, absolutely same. Well, Cain, we're gonna draw this to a close. How can we reach you? How can we listen to your show?
You can reach me on I'm on all social medias under Cain Stevens Super Show. You can also find me on every streaming platform out there, and for the Cain Stevens Super Show. You can even go back to my really crappy older work where I had no idea what I was doing with audio, and there's for some reason, even though I stopped paying for it, there is still some versions of my very first Cain Stevens Paranormal Super Show out there as well. So check those out. It's at least fun, but the audio is you listen at your own risk type stuff. But you can also see me on YouTube. We do a video podcast as well. I do some bonus stuff for audio only for you audio listeners out there. So I hope you guys tune in. I hope you guys continue to tune into this show as well. I think that you're doing God's work, my friend, on this type of stuff, and we all need to continue talking. So stay positive out there, everybody. Don't get sucked up in the darkness too much. Just try to enjoy life.
Thank you so much for that. That is high praise, and I love getting praise from people that I respect, and I certainly respect you. And I cannot thank you enough for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Well, hopefully we'll talk soon. I'd like to have you back.
I would love that. I'll be back as many times as you'll have me.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much, Cain. You have a great day.
You as well. Take care.
Bye-bye.
There you have it, folks. This has been an amazing show. Thank you so much to Tom, Carissa, and Cain for coming on and indulging me in my silly podcast. I do appreciate it. I learned a lot. I'm very excited to have been able to spend some time with you guys. Thank you for supporting the show and being on so everybody else could hear your stories. So I wanted to talk a little bit. This is not necessarily my story, but it's kind of my story. I'm going through a rough patch, as I do every year about this time. October 30th will be the anniversary of my father's passing, and every year I get just a little bit blah. So if I seem down, that's because I probably am, and that's just the way the tide rolls. Not not saying that there's an easy fix, although I do tend to be a little bit more moody around this time, and you guys don't really get to experience that. My friends and family do, and for that, I'm sorry. I do my best to try and keep it under control. The added bonus this year is on October 30th, I have a dentist appointment, which is always fun. Actually, it's not nearly as bad. My dentist is awesome. He always makes me feel comfortable, and he is just a great guy. And I appreciate spending time with him, even though he's hurting me. The other thing is Halloween. I love Halloween for a number of different reasons. When it comes to Halloween, though, this year, last year's events, if you listen to the show regularly, you know what happened last year, and that has got me a little bit on edge. I know that there won't be a repeat this year, but at the same time, it is locked in my brain that it was a tragedy last year. This year, I'm fingers crossed, hoping that it will go off without a hitch. What are your plans for Halloween this year? You can tell me. You can send me a message. Let me know. So a lot of people talk about the veil between worlds being its thinnest 2 times a year. Number one being Walpurgisnacht, which is April 30th, which wasn't a really big deal until some guy in 1966 decided to shave his head and start a church in San Francisco. The other is Halloween, October 31st, or the Celts called it Samhain. A lot of people will call it Samhain. Anyway, so supposedly the thin material separating this world from the realm of the dead is at its thinnest on those 2 nights. Now, this is all myth and folklore and whatnot, but it's been told for generations and generations. And just making sure my mic's still on. Maybe there's something to it. I mean, if it's been regarded as such for so long, maybe. So, what I generally do when I go to an investigation is I use a lot of scientific equipment. I use EMF detectors. I use laser grids, thermal camera. I use a lot of stuff. One of the things that I like to use that you could use, and they're not very expensive if you can find one. In this, you're going to see so many people on YouTube and TikTok and TikTak and Knick-Knack and Paddywhack and whatever. There are really, really conflicting sides to this. So some will say that it's absolutely myth and it's junk science and not science at all, and it's nobody should do it because it doesn't work. And then there are other people that say, oh, this is the best absolute possible way to do spirit communication, yada, yada, yada. I will tell you, if you take a mini mag light with a halogen bulb, not an LED, halogen bulb, and people will say, well, halogen causes it to get hot and expand and contract, and that's what it... All I can say is virtually every time I have used the mini mag light for spirit communication, the accuracy is amazing. You take the end cap, the battery cap, and you loosen it, and you turn the, because it's twist on light, turn it until right about, where it's going to turn on, and you let it sit there. And I have tons of videos of me doing this. I should put some on the YouTube channel. Maybe I'll do that when I have time. So in every investigation I've done over the past 5-6 years, I have used a mini mag light, and it works amazing. I do have a lot more expensive equipment. You can go out and get more expensive equipment, but if you find yourself on Halloween wanting to do a little bit of spirit communication, you have a mini mag light, try it. Try it out. What's the worst that can happen? Of course, you can't ask really complex questions like, when did you die? Well, a flashlight's not going to answer. It's good for yes or no questions. It's good for things of that nature. Try it out. Well, this episode is pretty long. I guess tonight my story is my technique, my battery powered mag light technique. You'll have to forgive me that I'm not going to go further in depth for the sake of brevity in this episode, which is going to be probably the longest one ever. I will save that for the next one, which should be coming up shortly. Again, I have another interview here in a few hours. I would love to be able to interview everybody that's contacting me. Please do me a favor and send me a voicemail. You can message me if you have if you have lots of stories. We can figure something out. I just want to be accommodating to everyone. So do me a favor. If you need to get a hold of me, you can email me at thenightsweatspodcast@gmail.com. You can join the Facebook group, The Night Sweats. You can send me a message from whatever platform you're listening to. You can, up to 3 minutes, send me a voicemail on the podcast voicemail. It's 860-GO-GHOST. That's GOGHOST, aka 860-464-4678. Do me a favor, share this show with your friends. Go out there, make it happen, and send me your stories so I can share them just like I share mine. Sweet dreams!